Okay, for this exercise, let's go back to our stars one more time, but this time we will be adding a bit more interactivity while still using more arrays. So let me just fork it again and I'll rename this array and plus interaction. Okay. Cool. Now I'm just going to change up a few things in here. Let me, whoops, let me delete all of this and let me stop running it. I will also not be building my second object anymore. Okay. Now, also let's not run the star anymore, just show it. Okay. So what's happening in here is that we have the star object and it is getting shown, and it is actually getting shown at the locations of x and y, which we have determined before. And my question is, what if I want to have this star get displayed on wherever my mouse is, my current mouse's location? So I guess like you would be all thinking, oh, then just change your mouse x as x and your mouse y as y. And it's kind of correct, but just not there, because if I run it, what's going to be happening is that you see my star, although it gets drawn, it's a bit off from where my mouse is. And that's because of this translate function that we have made. So what has happened is that since my canvas has been translated a bit, the location of my mouse in X and Y, they haven't been translated. And that's why we need to actually take advantage of the map function again. So what's going to be happening now is, if you remember map, our good old friend that allows us to map different values onto each other. So I'm going to map 0 to width, which is the minimum to maximum height of my canvas, to the translated value of my canvas. So minus width to plus width u. And I also need to do the same for mouse y, but this time using height. So let's go map the minimum and maximum value of height and the minimum and maximum value of height after translation. So let's give it a little run. Now it looks way more accurate, and I suggest maybe I don't want to have a transparency for my canvas anymore, so it just gets rendered where my mouse is standing at. Perfect. Okay, so the second stage is I want to create a function where it's going to create a star wherever I click on the canvas. So if I click in here, the star is going to get drawn over there. And for that, actually, P5, it already has an inbuilt function called mouse pressed. And it's great because it detects if a mouse is being pressed, and by using that input, we can make many things with that. So I just write function mouse pressed, and so what I want is whenever I click somewhere on the canvas, I want a star to be created over there at that very exact location. And this means that I will need to have multiple stars and I need a way to keep them. And that's why I'm going to use an array. So let's declare an array called stars again. Oops. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change up a few things from here. So I will move everything inside this mouse pressed function, which is going to be detecting when a mouse is being pressed anywhere on the canvas. And I'm going to get this in here. But instead of using this variable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push that into my stars array. So stars.push my star. And as we have done in the previous example, I'm going to use a for loop to show all of the stars that have been held by, oops, I'm getting, oh, okay, that's fine. Let I equals 0, I less than equal to less than stars length, I plus, oops, open my brackets. Okay, let's give it a quick run. Oh, I'm rushing things. Sorry about that. Okay, now let's go. Yep. So wherever I click on the canvas, a star gets drawn and it gets displayed over there. So let's just have a real quick walkthrough of what's happening. I'm having the X and Y variables that is mapping my mouse X and mouse Y into the canvas because I have translated the canvas already. And then I'm creating a new star variable called myStar, which is a star object created at that very exact location of my clicking. And then they all get pushed into the stars array. And within the draw function, a for loop, it iterates through all of the stars in the stars array and displays them. Cool. Except from clicking, another interaction that we can have when it comes to mouse is actually hovering. So for that, we can actually build a new action within our star class that will enable us to hover over the star objects, and depending on that, it's going to create new effects. So I'm thinking maybe like if I can create these objects and once I hover it, I can try to change their color. So I'm going to create a new function called hover. And so for hover, there's something I need to keep an eye on. I only want the color of the object to change when my mouse is hovering around it. it means that I need to have a way to detect where my mouse is and where that object is and what is the distance between them. And it seems a bit daunting, but luckily JavaScript is a great library, and we can just use a dist function to calculate what's the distance between the current place of my mouse and the current place of the object. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the x and y variables, which are going to be the location of my mouse, mouse x and mouse y. I'm actually writing these lowercase because I don't want them to be confused with the global variables that are already being given by the P5 library. So make sure you pay attention to that. And I will compare the distance between mouse X, mouse Y with the current location of that object. So this X, this Y. And depending on this distance, I'm going to change the color. But what is this distance? What am I trying to see? How far is far enough? And for that, actually, I'm just going to use up this line over here because it is the farthest point that I'm drawing, and I think it's just a good enough estimation for me. So if D is less than or equal to this dot size 6 times this dot size, which is the farthest point of a point that I'm drawing in the start, then let's change the color of this. This dot color. Maybe like red, and I still want to give it a bit of an alpha, maybe 10. And I will just save this. I go to my sketch, and now I'm going to, okay, so maybe what I can do is I will take these here because they're a bit more valuable right now for me to use. So let's make them global variables also that are going to be accessible by all of the functions. And stars I hover, and I will pass x and y, which are the values for the mouse x and mouse y mapped. So now if I create, oops, okay, this dot call, oh, pardon me, it has to be color. Let's go again. Okay, so when I click, you can see that the objects get created and all of them become red. And that's actually because I'm not putting them back where they were. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new variable within the object called bold color. And that's going to be same as star color in here. And what's going to happen is if these are, if the distance of my mouse is less than the distance I have specified, my color becomes red. Else, if you remember, if that is not the case, the color becomes this alt color. And this is going to allow me to toggle the color after I create the objects. So there you go. A bit of mouse interaction and detection regarding where the mouse is currently at and what's happening with it. And I highly recommend you go through this exercise, follow my steps, and let me know if there's anything you don't understand that's a bit confusing for you, because the mouse interaction is user input, which is going to be highly important for you to use in your final projects.